Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking Graham Hancock's deeply personal and philosophical reflections on humanity's past, present, and our increasingly fragile future. Whether you know him for his controversial theories on ancient civilizations, or you're just curious about the human condition, what we're looking at today goes way beyond archaeology. It's a literally intimate look at consciousness, love, and what it truly means to be human in a rapidly changing world. Let's dive in.
So think about this for a second. If you died today, would your heart be lighter than a feather? Right? It's a massive question derived from ancient Egyptian funerary texts, and it serves as the ultimate philosophical hook for examining how we actually live our lives. Imagine, right now, having everything you've ever done weighed and measured. It's an incredible concept. Hancock uses this exact ancient framework, not just as some historical curiosity, but as a deeply personal lens to evaluate his own mortality and the legacy he's leaving behind.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to hit the ancient scale of truth, look at love and human fragility, dive into pushing back on dogma, discuss humanity on the brink, and finally, worshiping the machine god. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the ancient scale of truth. We're starting way back in ancient Egypt with Hancock's breakdown of the judgment scene before the god Osiris. Picture this. On one side of a giant scale, you've got the human heart. For the Egyptians, this literally represented your soul and every single choice you ever made. On the other side, the feather of Mot, representing truth, harmony, the whole cosmic justice shebang. You absolutely do not want your heart to outweigh that feather. At the very least, you want to be in perfect balance to prove you lived a life of truth. So how do you prove that balance? Well, Hancock explains you'd enter the Hall of Osiris and face the 42 negative assessors. Each one grills you on a life choice. Did you steal? Did you kill? But here's the real kicker, and what Hancock finds so fascinating. The Egyptians knew we're only human, right? We mess up. The real test wasn't if you were perfect, but did you actually learn from those mistakes, or did you just keep repeating them? It's like a cosmic performance review. You were given this incredible body, this massive brain, this unique opportunity. Did you use it well, or did you completely squander it? It's a thought experiment that has really focused Hancock's mind on his own choices. Moving on to Section 2, Love and Human Fragility. Now, shifting from ancient myths to the very intimate present, Hancock's recent health scares have forced him to really confront his own mortality. And for a guy who has spent decades chasing the mysteries of lost civilizations, his emotional core is actually surprisingly simple. It all comes back to his wife, Samantha. He specifically credits her with totally saving his life's trajectory, straight up admitting that without her loving steering hand, his life would have gone completely off the rails. They met when he was 40. They've been together over 30 years, and they're practically glued at the hip, traveling the world side by side. But get this, they successfully blended a family of 6 kids from 3 previously broken marriages, and now they share 9 grandchildren. That is a full house. Hancock's big takeaway here is that despite all the ancient wonders out there, simple romantic love, just giving yourself to someone else and building a family, is the real secret to genuine happiness. It's the ultimate cure for our modern toxic materialism. That brings us to Section 3, pushing back on dogma. So with that personal foundation in mind, we really have to look at the intense pushback Hancock faces. When you put alternative ideas out into the world, you're going to catch some heat, right? Having a big platform naturally makes you a target. But some of these attacks, like being called a racist or a grifter, he finds deeply painful and totally unforgivable, especially since he has a multi-ethnic family. But instead of letting it break him, it's actually forced him to double down on his principles. He's literally begging people to read the original source materials instead of just relying on lazy internet takedowns. He refuses to back down, but he also refuses to slip into bitterness. And this feeds directly into his broader critique of modern academia. Hancock sees the archaeological establishment as fiercely territorial. It's like when specialists get locked into their specific viewpoint, they start treating independent inquiry like a literal turf war against outsiders. To Hancock, every scoop of dirt could rewrite human history, but he feels the establishment acts as a gatekeeper, fighting off new ideas tooth and nail, instead of just keeping an open mind to the possibilities.
Which sets us up for Section 4, Humanity on the Brink.
All of this friction builds into a very urgent warning about our species' survival. We've kind of forgotten the absolute horror of global conflict. Take the number 20 million. 20 million. That is just the number of Russians killed during the Second World War alone.
Hancock was born in 1950, so he grew up in the immediate shadow of that absolute nightmare. He argues that today's generation has lost that visceral fear, making the threat of self-destruction way more likely today, under what he bluntly calls maniacal leaders. When you zoom out on the human timeline, Hancock's perspective gets pretty chilling. He theorizes that 12,800 years ago, a massive cataclysm, maybe the Taurid meteor stream, totally reset humanity. Fast forward to today. We're in this hyper-advanced technological age, but our tech has completely outpaced our maturity. We're literally standing on the edge of a cliff. While space rocks are still a threat, he thinks the real danger is us. Between nuclear weapons and the unchecked rise of AI, he believes we are dangerously close to bombing ourselves right back to the Stone Age.
So how on earth do we fix this? Well, Hancock has let's call it an unconventional idea. If he ruled the world, he'd mandate 12 sessions of ayahuasca for all world leaders before they could even take office. Seriously. Why? Because he thinks tapping into our shared human consciousness through psychedelics would shatter our deep-seated tribalism. It would force a global sense of empathy and oneness, which might just be the only way to cure the petty territorial disputes that are threatening to wipe us out. And that leads us to our final stop, Section 5, Worshipping the Machine God. This is arguably the most provocative pillar of Hancock's entire philosophy, how we treat science today. He passionately argues that we are sleepwalking into a dangerous new religion. On one side, science has been elevated to a machine god, where the public is just told to trust the science blindly, no questions asked. Hancock thinks this totally betrays the actual ethics of science. On the other side, science as it should be, a tool, a powerful tool meant to be challenged, tested, and constantly questioned. He firmly believes we need to stop worshiping it and put it back in its rightful place, as just one of many ways to understand our reality. Because ultimately, that is his core message. The absolute highest responsibility of human consciousness is independent inquiry. Evolution didn't give us these massive brains and incredible global connectivity just to sit back and nod along. We're meant to ask questions. Anyone demanding blind obedience is doing profound harm to humanity. We owe it to ourselves and to our ancestors to actually think critically. And hey, speaking of independent inquiry and supporting curious spaces, currently only 15% of viewers who watch these explainers are subscribed, meaning 85% of you aren't. Consider this a direct plea to hit that subscribe button, join that 15%, and help support open-minded conversations that actually challenge the status quo. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on. Are we going to just blindly hand over our future to dogma and a machine god? Or are we going to use our incredible human consciousness to start asking the hard questions? Fast forward 20,000 years from now, when whoever is left is digging up our history, what are they going to find? Will they find a society that learned from its mistakes, or one whose heart was just way too heavy for the scale? Thanks so much for watching, and whatever you do, never stop questioning.